Thanks so much for listening to No Lions Here with me, Big Panda. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to No Lions Here. My name is Big Panda, and I'm a recovering sex addict. Before we jump into today's episode, as always, I got to give a shout out to my sponsor of the show, Begin Again Institute, out in Berthoud, Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. If you or anyone you know is struggling with sex and porn addiction, definitely go check them out. Their information is going to be in the description. Life-changing program out there. Love those guys. Great guys, what they do out there. So really grateful to be partnered with them as well. So thank you for all that you do, Begin Again. Appreciate you guys. And definitely go check out the episodes that I have with their therapists. I got a lot of their therapists that come on. So definitely go check out everything that they're doing. Back in the studio. So I'm going to be honest. Like, I missed an episode this week. Like, I missed my regular schedule, right? It's normally like every 2 weeks I put out an episode on Monday, and I was supposed to put one out this last Monday, and I didn't have the content. I've been kind of sharing. Things have been a little different for me around the podcast recently. Again, not that I'm ever going to stop doing the podcast. I want to keep doing the podcast. However, like, just life changes, right? Like getting a new job, working in the recovery field now, getting into a relationship, just my time has changed. And so, like, what I'm really trying to do is not get caught up in like the guilt around not putting out an episode. Trying not to, like, all right, like, what can I do about that, right? What's the solution, Alex? Like, all right, get in and record when you can. I'm kind of looking at it as kind of working on getting some, recurring guests on, having Jeff, my sponsor, on, doing some solo stuff to kind of get me through, like, the end of the year. At the end of the year, I'm going to be moving out of the studio. So I'm going to be running things remotely. And that's when I want to get back into trying to get some of these more professional guests on, out-of-state guests on, things like that. So, okay, what's the solution? Just get back into it, record when I can. And so as I'm sitting there, I got my day off today, and I'm sitting here, and it's like, all right, like, I don't really necessarily know what I'm going to talk about, right? Not that I necessarily have any agenda or topic that I come in wanting to talk about. But I mean, I've got plenty of things going on in my life right now, but it's just like, I don't know. I came in, I'm like, all right, let's record. I need to record, but shit, I don't know what I'm going to record about. So, don't know how long this episode's going to be. Just gonna kind of get into some of the stuff that I've been dealing with, right? The relationship, the job. One of the really cool things that happened to me recently was I got asked to be somebody's temporary sponsor, and that has been, like, one, it's been a lot of fun. Like, it's been really cool to be able to pass along. It's really special when somebody comes to you and says, hey, like, I want what you have. You seem like you're really happy, and I want what you have. Like, that feels really good, right? Like, a gift of the program, a gift of the 100% gift of the program, right? And when the program calls, whether because I struggle with, there's different views on who sponsors and how they sponsor. And, like, one of those is, like, you need to have a sponsor that has worked the 12 steps. And I haven't fully worked the 12 steps yet. I plan on it. I'm working on it. I haven't done it yet. And there's all these different ways of going about it. There's different ways in AA. There's different ways in NA. There's different ways in S. Like, so, for somebody who's not in the S program to come to me and say, hey, I want you to be my temporary sponsor. One, it's kind of like, the program calls, I need to say yes. And then, like, okay, like, what does that look like? Because I've had this happen to me before. I've had guys come to me before and ask me this, and then they kind of fall off, and I kind of stop hearing from them. And so it's like, I look at it as, like, what did I do wrong? When it's like, not necessarily if I did anything wrong, even. It's just, sometimes some people aren't serious about it, or they want to go about it in a different way. And, like, and that's totally fine. Again, that's not a knock to me, where I don't need to, give into that tape, right? It's all about these tapes that we have in our head. I was talking to a guy earlier about the old tapes. and pushing back. And like, that's recovery. To me, recovery is pushing back on those old tapes, pushing back, and saying, I need to push back against these tapes, because what's a truth and what's a lie here? And the lie in my head is that I'm not good enough, and that I can't sponsor somebody because I'm not there yet, right? Well, what does there yet even look like? Yeah, sure, there's some marks there, like have I worked through the 12 steps, type of thing. But again, I'm also not out there marketing myself as a sponsor either. And it's something that, God's put in front of me and guiding me through that. And so what's really cool is like to have a sponsor and have had the same sponsor for a long time. And so I really kind of model what he's done for me. And I'm really grateful for that relationship that I have with Jeff in as my sponsor. Not only my sponsor, but also just like a great friend of mine, a brother of mine in the program. And so this guy asked, hey, will you be my temporary sponsor? And one, I mean, I got to acknowledge the courage that it takes, especially somebody early on in recovery, like to ask that, to go to somebody and say, hey, going out on a limb almost, right? Like that's hand in hand with like asking for help, right? Which is really hard for us to do in this society, is asking for help, right? So I wanted to acknowledge first and foremost, like the courage that it took to like reach out, right? Because there's a chance that I say no, or there's a chance that anybody you ask to sponsor you, that they're going to say no for whatever reason, right? Maybe they've got too many sponsors or sponsees. Maybe they've got X, Y, and Z going on in their life to where they can't dedicate or give time to people. But also I got to look at, the program tells me to say yes. So I'm going to say yes. So in part of that, and, when it comes to sponsee relationships, one of my very first therapists told me that, like, hey man, like that relationship is you. Like that relationship is for you. What do you need out of that? So I asked this guy, I said, okay, man, here's a couple things that I want to run by you real quick. Here's some stipulations, if you will. I said, yes, man, I will be your temporary sponsor, but what I want you to be doing is I want you to be actively looking for a permanent sponsor. Right? I can help get you so far. But what I really want is is to find somebody, maybe like at a home group. Because a guy doesn't live around here. It's not like we can like meet up or go to the same meetings together. He lives a little further out. So it's like, hey man, I want you to be actively looking for a permanent sponsor. And he was like, okay, yep, no problem. I said, all right, man, this is up to you. Like, I want you to call me every day. Call me every day. Now, there's going to be times where maybe I can't talk. I'll get back to you. I'll let you know, but like, you need to be calling me every single day. And it's not my job to chase you. If it goes a couple days and I don't hear from you, then I'll probably reach out to just see what's going on. But, if you don't call me one day, I'm not going to call you. Like, it's your job. You're responsible. I'm going to hold you accountable to this. You call me. Also, too, like, I want you to start reading the literature. Start reading the literature. Get a big book, get an NA book, get an S book, whatever it is, and start reading the literature, right? And then any questions that you have, ask me. Like, let's talk about it. Because we all get different views. We all can interpret things differently. That's kind of what I love about the literature is, and I think that this is the same in the Bible, right? And that's kind of one of my problems with organized religion is like, some people say that this only means one thing. Well, we're all different. We all have different perspectives. We all have different experiences. I can interpret, me and you can both read the exact same thing, but we can interpret it differently. And so he's like, okay, all right, I'll do it. I'll read the literature. I really want to work through the steps. And I said, okay, man, like, I hear you. I said, hey, man, let's slow down a little bit, though, right? Recovery is about slowing down. And I need to look at my motivation for why do I want to get through the steps so quickly? Why am I putting all this pressure on myself to do everything, right? He really reminded me of myself in early recovery, which was like, I have to get through all of these things now. Right? I have to get better right now, one, so that this old relationship comes back to me. Like my motivators were these external things. It wasn't necessarily so much about like fixing and healing me. It was about fixing and trying to heal the things around me. And it's like, those are not the right motivators, and those are not the right motivators. That doesn't need to be what's motivating me, because if that's what's motivating me, as we all say, like anything you put in front of your recovery, you're going to lose, or you're not going to be successful in your recovery. Now, I'm also a believer that, like, again, here's two truths at once. Like, I'm also a believer that, like, hey, in early recovery, if you have these external motivators that are motivating you, use those to carry you through until you can kind of walk on your own. I know that I needed them. That's what got me into recovery, was external motivators, right? That's what kept me going for the first year or so, until I realized, like, okay, wow, like, I'm standing on my own 2 feet right now, and I'm like walking. Okay, like, okay, things are really starting to click for me now, right? Like, I don't have to. Those external motivators went away, right? And then I realized I was doing this for me, and so okay, and so I had to kind of break it down to him, like, and it's almost like, I think early on a lot of people get in their heads around, like, well, if I'm not doing step work every single day, if I'm not reading the literature every day, if I'm not hitting a meeting every day, then, like, I'm not doing enough, right? I remember early on in recovery, I'd be in these meetings and I'd talk about these guys that were like reading all these books. And I'm like, well, shoot, I'm not reading any books. Damn, they're doing so much better than I am because I'm not reading these books. Well, turns out, one, I can't compare myself to others. If I start comparing myself to others, I will never add up. Never. So, also, two, let's be honest with myself here. I'm not a book reader. I've read books in recovery. I'm not a big book reader, though. So that doesn't work for me. Okay, so reading a bunch of books, like, that doesn't work for me. And again, it's not a competition either. Like, recovery is not a competition. I am in competition with nobody else in my recovery. Nobody else. It's just me. It's just me doing for me. It's me and God, right? It's me and God in this thing. We're in this thing together, right? Yeah, I got other people that are on my team, and I got people surrounding me, but it's not a competition at all. And so, like, I had to, like, break it down to him in this way, like, hey, man, like, we're gonna get through the steps, right? I'm gonna walk you through it to the best of my ability, to some extent, right? However, too, just know that, like, you making this phone call is you taking a recovery action, right? He has these external things that are going on that are causing him from going to a meeting every day. He's at a couple meetings a week, but he's got some stipulations in his life. He doesn't have a driver's license right now. He's working on getting it back. Like, he doesn't have, that's why, another thing was, like, all right, man, like, 3 phone calls a day. Right? Can you do that? I've talked about this before, like breaking that down, like 3 phone calls a day, right? When 2 addicts get together and they talk about recovery, right, that is considered a meeting. So this phone call right now is considered a meeting. So, all right, man, like, in a sense, you are hitting a meeting, right? You are connecting, right? Connection is the opposite of addiction. We say this all the time. Like, you're doing what you need to do right now in this moment. And also, too, like, recovery is about slowing down. Slowing things down. Not speeding things up, because speeding things up, that just throws us back into the chaos, right? And that just throws us back into the chaos, and then I get burnt out, and I get spun out of control, and shoot, guys, you know how many times that's happened to me in my recovery? And then I go and act out over it, right? God willing, as I sit here, I've got 5 days until my 6-month sobriety from my sexual sobriety. 6 months. That feels really good, right? And I don't like admitting how many times that I've acted out over the years in recovery. I don't like admitting that. I have to admit that, though, right? And the people around me know this stuff. I don't broadcast it to everybody, but I guess I am now. But, like, keep coming back is what I'm saying. Like, keep coming back, right? Keep being honest. Keep coming back. That's, like, the importance. Like, That's the importance. Like, do the inner work, right? And the inner work is heavy and it is hard. And it was really cool too. This guy, man, he's a cool dude. Spent some time in prison, and he told me the other day, he was like, Alex, man, because we were talking feelings. Like, all right, man, tell me how you feel about that. Like, I'll send you a copy of the feeling wheel. Tell me how you feel right now. Like, let's talk about these emotions, right? Like, there's nothing cooler than than two grown men just talking about their feelings. And so he told me, he was like, Alex, like he's like, I remember I was sitting there in class, like that first time you gave me the feeling wheel. And he was like, what the fuck is this? What is this shit? And I just started laughing. And he was like, but now I get it. Now I understand why you do that. I understand, right? The addiction is the symptom of suppressed feelings, unregulated emotions. Like this is what's underneath the addiction, right? Is these feelings, the feelings, the emotions, like the tapes that then feed into those feelings and emotions. And he was like, I get it now. I get it, and I love it now too. So it's like awesome, man. Like great, and just trying to explain the importance of just slowing down, right? And that this is a journey, not a destination. What are your motivators here? Like you say you want to get into this, well, you're already in it, right? Like you say you're already in this. And then what was really cool was to be able to walk this guy through his first step. And that's like the first time I've ever done that with somebody. And I walked him through to his first step the other night. And like, it was really cool. Like, and again, going back to like the way that my sponsor did it with me, and the importance of like the 12 steps, like they're not a one and done. I'm not going to work the 12 steps and then just be done. Right. There's an opportunity to work them over and over and over again. And also too, I told him too, I said, hey man, like my sponsor before Jeff told me, hey man, like let's look at your life. Let's look at your life, and the 12 steps a part of your everyday life. And if you think about it, and if you're actively working a program, then yes, the 12 steps they might not be in order, but they're actively going on in my life today. Like I just got off the phone with a guy that's struggling right now. Like, dude, I just did a 12 step, right? I passed along the message, right? I shared with him some things like he's hurting, he's struggling, he's trying to get back into treatment. And, he's using. And, we were talking about it, and I was like, dude, I've messed up more times than I like to admit. And he was like, what? Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I just thought everybody else was perfect. And I said, no, man, that's a myth. That's bullshit. Like, I'm not perfect. My recovery has been really messy. Like, recovery is messy, and this is like what people do is like people get into these rooms or on the phone and, oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Like, I'm good. Well, it's like, I can do that, but how honest am I being, right? Like, let me be honest. Like, I'm not doing good. I'm doing good today, actually. But like, people put on this front because these tapes tell us that, like, if I show any sign of weakness or if I show that I slipped up, I'm automatically going to be labeled as a failure. These people are not going to want to talk to me. These people are going to push me away. These people aren't going to love me. They're going to reject me, right? I'm going to get yelled at. And like, you know how many times that's happened to me? 0. That time has literally never happened to me. And all the experiences that I've had over the last few years, like that has not once happened to me, right? But the tapes in my head tell me that if I act out or if I use and I call my sponsor or I call somebody, they're going to say, Alex, I can't talk to you, man, because you messed up and you're a failure. That's what the tape in my head tells me. That's what the tape in my head tells me. So it's my job to push back against those tapes, right? And now those tapes are quieter and quieter in my mind. But for this guy, those tapes are loud. So even if he's working on calling insurance companies and getting people in, like, all right, man, like, I'm here for you, dude. Have you used today? Yes, you have. Okay. Thank you for the honesty. But he's actively trying. So I'm not going to give up. I'm going to support him. I'm going to love him. You're right. Like, early on recovery is we got to let that love in. Like, We have to let that love in, right? I have to let other people love me when I can't love myself. Again, that whole idea of like, I can't walk right now, but I got people around me that have lifted me up, that have carried me when I couldn't walk, until I was able to build the strength up in myself to walk. And then next thing you know, I can help carry other people. Because that's what the program is about. That's what recovery is about, right? Is leaning on each other when I can't walk, but then also being somebody for people to lean on when they can't walk. And I'm just grateful to be in a spot to where like I can lift you up. I can lift you up. It's a good reminder to me of where I don't want to go back to, right? Like I don't want to go back to using, right? I don't want to have to make that phone call to my sponsor that says I use or I acted out. I don't want to make that phone call. And today I don't have to, right? God willing, just for today, I don't act out and I don't use, right? I don't have the urges. But no matter how long I've been in this game, I'm still the same distance away from the ditch that I always have been, right? All it takes is one swerve, one pothole in the road that if I don't steer correctly around or through, right? Not even around it, through it, right? Let me hold steady on that wheel so that it doesn't throw me into the ditch. Because again, I'm an addict. I'm an addict in recovery. I'm recovering. However, that ditch is still there. That ditch is still there. I can pull over and I can help people get out of that ditch, right? And I know that I've got people that would help me get out of that ditch if I found myself in that ditch again. But God willing, just for today, I don't get into that ditch because that's not where I want to be. So yeah, so it's been a lot of service been going on in my life recently, right? And service really helps me. It makes me feel good, inspires me, motivates me, right? These phone calls help me just as much as they help somebody else, right? So if you're struggling, or again, you know, you want to keep it, give it away, right? Give it away. Whatever you have going on, give it away. That's what we have to do in recovery, right? That to me is recovery. So switching gears a little bit, the relationship that I'm in, you know, it's going well. She's great. You know, I love her. She's awesome. We've definitely been like kind of bumping up against some stuff lately, and like I've been really. It's cool to be able to see how the promises, right? Like we intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. I keep going back to these lately because I can just see them so well and so clearly in my life. Like in the moment too, I see these things. Like it's not like afterwards. It's not afterwards like, man, I really fucked that up. It's like in the moment, I can see how I'm handling these situations and how I'm handling them differently. Just, you know, with the work, I've just been feeling really, there's work going on, you know, the relationship, like I've just been feeling really depleted, which then can get me feeling like really overwhelmed very quickly, right? I feel like I told this to the girlfriend. I told her, like, I feel like I always have to be on. I feel like I always have to be on and there for everybody else around me, which then doesn't, and then I'm not taking the time to be there and on for me. Because man, there's sometimes like I don't want to be on, right? Like I work 40 hours at the treatment center. Hey guys, I just want to take a minute to share something deeply personal and transformative in my journey of recovery. I've been where you might be right now, struggling with the weight of addiction and feeling lost. But there's a place that offered me a new beginning, a place I truly believe in. It's called Begin Again Institute. At Begin Again, they understand the deep-rooted trauma behind addiction. Their 14-day intensive program for men tackles the neurobiological aspects of addiction head-on. It's not just about breaking a habit. It's about understanding and healing the underlying trauma that formed it in the first place. And for those who have been impacted by betrayal, Begin Again extends care to partners of addicts too. Their partner support program is offered at no additional cost to the family and runs alongside the men's intensive. This program helps participants gain an understanding of the trauma they've experienced and sets them on their own path to healing. If you or someone you love are grappling with sexual addiction, pornography addiction, or intimacy issues, Begin Again Institute can be that pivotal step towards recovery and a new lease on life. Remember, you can't go back and change the past, but it's never too late to begin again. To learn more about their life-changing program, visit beginagaininstitute.com or call 720-776-9076 to reserve your spot in the next 2-week intensive. I promise, it'll be the best call that you ever make for yourself. Stay strong, keep fighting, and keep tuning in to No Lions Here for more conversations about recovery, resilience, and hope. And then when I'm done with the treatment center, I go play hockey, and then I go to her house, which is an hour drive away from me. And so I'm feeling like over the last couple weeks, it's like the only me time that I have is when I'm either driving or when I'm in bed at night for the last hour of my night just watching trash TV. And so like I feel like I go from being on at the treatment center for being there for all these other people to then I have to go straight into boyfriend mode and I have to be on for you. And look, I'm not complaining about having to be on as a boyfriend or having to be there for her or going down and seeing her and spending time with her. I'm not complaining. Like, these are good things. These are good things that I'm having to deal with. I'm not complaining. And, you know, part of my deal, and I saw this last weekend, was like, I didn't know what was fully going on with me. I knew that I was off. I was feeling off. I was feeling a little distant. And, you know, part of that is like, so when I'm at home during my work week, there's a distance between her and I, right? Like, I can't just get off work one night and be like, you know what, I'll come over and spend the night, or hey, you come spend the night with me. Like, there's distance there. So we got to schedule things. And like, I like that, because then when I'm home and I'm doing my work thing, I'm focusing on me, right? And I forgot where I was going with that. Where was I going? So when I'm home, I'm in my work week. Okay, I know where I was going with that. All right. So like sometimes like the communication is like, we'll still communicate throughout the day. However, like sometimes we don't always talk on the phone every day, or like maybe we won't text each other that much that day. And for me, like I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I know she's there. I know she loves me. I know she's there. I trust her. You know, she's in her world, her life, doing her thing. And like, I'm okay if there's like little communication throughout the day. I'm okay with that, because too much communication can kind of overwhelm me, especially in my work week. And so, well, I went down there last week, and her and I were talking, and she was like, yeah, I just feel a little distant. And, you know, I feel like we haven't had a quality conversation. And all right, let me take a look at that. Like, what's my part in that? And okay, I was making the assumption, I was being selfish. I was making the assumption that, look, I'm okay with minimal communication. However, on the other end, she needs quality conversation. Okay. All right. You know, I just got into this assumption that, okay, well, she's good with it. I'm good with it. Cool. And so I had to take a look at that. Like, what's my part in this? And my part in that was like, I've got into a pretty selfish mindset, a pretty selfish assumption around that. And noticing, you know, she was able to voice what she needed. And that was like, hey, I need some quality conversation during the week. Okay. Well, we're going to try to do, you know, 1 30-minute phone call at least a week to talk about what we got going on. So, okay, like I can do that. I can do that, you know, I can do that. And again, not beating myself up. And I'm really glad that she stepped up and said what she needed, talked about, you know, we're getting into like talking about what we need. And so, you know, I'm feeling off, and I get really confused and frustrated with myself when I don't know exactly what's going on, because then I feel like I don't know how to communicate that with her. And that it's almost like this tape in my head says, we have to have it all figured out. I have to know exactly what's going on with me in order to communicate that to her. Because one, I don't want to just like show up at her house one day and be like, hey, I'm off. I don't know what it is. So, take that. There you go. I'm just going to chill, you know? My sponsor kind of pushed back, he's like, don't do that. So I don't want to do that. So I need to learn how to communicate like my needs is essentially what it kind of came down to, right? Like, what are my needs and how do I take care of myself? And being able to communicate that, which is really hard for me to do in a relationship. And this is the first time that I've been in a healthy relationship where I need to set boundaries for myself as far as my me time goes and what I need to take care of me. And, it's one of those things where she's like, what can I do for you? What do you need from me? And like, the answer is nothing. There's nothing that you're doing that's causing any of this. You are not the problem here. This is my problem. You're great. You give me the reassurance that I need. You're there for me. You let me know that you're there for me. Like, she keeps asking me that, and I'm like, there's nothing you need to do because this isn't a you problem. This is me just figuring out what I need for myself in order for me to refill my cup and recharge so that I can be on, or that I can fully be there for you, right? Fully present. And so like, I'm noticing like, all right, like it's a little scary though, guys. Like, I'm scared of this. I'm so scared of this because I'm a people pleaser, and I'm so afraid of saying, hey, no, you know what? Like, I'm not going to come down this weekend, or we're not going to see each other this much this weekend because I need some me time. I need some alone time for myself. And so like last weekend, like I left because I had a hockey game. So I came up back home to my hometown, and her daughter came up, and she called me on her way up, and she was like, do you even want us at the game? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Why would I not? Like, she's like, well, I just feel like I need to give you space. I'm feeling anxious about this now. Like, and I'm like, okay, like I thought we left on good terms when I left her house. Like, nothing felt wrong. Like, I just knew that I needed to get me time. And I'm also not the type that like I almost need like a day or two of like kind of processing through things. It's not like just, all right, now I'm good type of thing. Like, I need to kind of work through these things. And so she was like, and this is literally like right before my hockey game. And we've talked about this. We've had a couple conversations around this. And that's one of the things that I won't do in our relationship is I won't bring anything onto the podcast that her and I haven't talked about already. I don't want her finding out new information about me through this, right? We're going to talk about these things first before I bring them onto the show. And so she calls me and she's like, do you even want me there? I'm literally like about to start getting ready. She's like, do you even want me there? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Like, what, like, is everything okay? And she was like, no, it's not okay. I just feel like for the last couple of weeks, you've been distant, you've been off. Like, I don't know what's going on with you. I feel like you're holding things from me. And I was like, well, I haven't done anything that I need to be honest with you about. I'm thinking of like acting out, like, are you afraid of that? And she was like, I don't think that you've done anything like that. I think that you're holding back emotionally from me. And I'm like, well, I was like, I don't really know what's going on. And I guess, sorry, let me back up a little bit. The night before, it was Friday night, we were getting ready to sit down and watch a movie. And I was like, hey, I need a couple minutes. I got to go make a phone call. I'm going to make a phone call. So I went and called my sponsor, and I get on the phone with him, and we're talking, and man, I just start crying. Just overwhelmed, the fear, being depleted, just a lot of things going on within me that I really wasn't necessarily aware of. I wasn't aware of that emotion that was there that I needed to let out. And so talked to my sponsor, and it was a really good conversation. I definitely like shook out a lot. Like there's a lot going on, right? It's rarely ever just like one thing going on. It's always just like a mixed bag. There's like some distance around some friends and a physical distance on top of that. Like I feel like I don't know where I like fit in right now, because I'm not at home. I don't live down there. Like I'm kind of split between these two places. I feel like I'm kind of getting pulled in all these different directions, and I don't have time I'm not taking the right time for myself, and I don't feel like connected to myself, and just like I just started crying. And we had a really good conversation, and then we went into the house, and I started kind of to tell the girlfriend about it, and then I just started crying again, and I just lost it, and I ended up just like crying on her shoulder for like 5 minutes, like just crying. And we kind of got into a little bit of the conversation. I still really wasn't too sure what was going on. The only thing that was coming to me was like I need me time, right? I need me time. I need to do stuff for me to kind of fill my cup and recharge. So we go to bed Friday, we wake up Saturday, I leave Saturday. Now we're on the phone right before my hockey game, and she's like, yeah, I feel like you're emotionally distanced from me. I don't know what's going on with you. And I was like, okay. And I asked her, I said, how have you been perceiving this from me? What actions have I done with you that make you feel this way? And she proceeded to list off some things. I laugh about it now, and her and I would laugh about it too, because like she listed off these things, and I was like, okay, like, all right, like, and like in that moment, I felt a little attacked. I felt a little like, oh wow, like it's just kind of getting poured on me. You're saying this has been going on for a couple weeks, and you're just now saying something to me about it. Like, I know that I've been off. Yeah, we've kind of touched on it a little bit. But in that moment, I had to hear her. Right, I had to give her that space. I had to hear her. Okay, let me reassure her. Hey, I love you. Like, I'm going to see you here in a little bit. In my mind, I'm thinking this is a terrible time to be doing this. I'm going to just be thinking about this whole game, and it's going to be bad. And so, I heard her. I love you. I'm committed to you. I'm here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here, right? And the problem is not you. The problem is me. So we go about the hockey game, and we ended up winning. It was a good game. 1-1, 10-4, not a big deal. And what I thought was really cool afterwards was we were standing there talking there. We're in the middle of the rink, right? We're in the middle, not on the rink, but we're in the rink, right? And there's people around us, our daughter's there. And we just ended up like having like a conversation, like about that conversation. And I told her, I said, hey, I felt a little attacked in that moment. Like, it felt like you were just kind of pointing out all these things that I was, quote unquote, like doing wrong, like that I'm not doing enough of. And she was like, well, hold on. Like, you asked me to give you these examples. And in that moment, I was like, shit. You are so right. Like, yeah, I did ask you for these examples, and you gave them to me. Like, I can't necessarily claim to be attacked if I'm asking for these things. Like, I asked for them, and I was like, okay, all right. And then we talked, and she was like, look, like, well, what do you need? And I was like, I need time. I need me time. Like, we'll still communicate. I just need like, and so, with scheduling how we hang out with each other, I was like, hey, like next week, like I'm going to take Thursday and Friday, my two of my off days, and like I'm gonna be at home. I'm gonna do Alex things. And she was like, yeah, okay. She was like, oh well. And I was like, you guys can come up Friday night and hang out Friday night. Jake Paul fights Mike Tyson on Friday night. That's tomorrow night. I think when this thing drops, that fight will be over, and hopefully Mike Tyson won. That's a whole other topic that I could go into that I'm not going to. And I was like, you guys can come up Friday night. We'll hang out Saturday. I got a game Saturday. So, and then you guys will go home after the game. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, oh, by the way, like your mom's going to be out of town. And I was like, what? For real? Like, I didn't know this at all. And my mom was at the game, and they were talking during the game. And so, like, I was like, oh, okay. So I got home, talked to my mom. Yeah, it turns out she left on Wednesday. So now she's gone. So I'm like, this is perfect. perfect timing for you guys to come up. Perfect timing for me to get some just fully me time. And then y'all come up Friday. We're going to go see some friends for the fight. We're going to see some friends on Saturday. I'm going to get the smoker out. I've been to Sam's. I got a bunch of meat that I'm going to smoke. I'm going to do a bunch of cooking starting tonight. And so I'm going into this week, and my boss was out of town this week too. I was like, man, I'm really excited about this week. Cause my boss is out of town. Not that I really like my boss. She's not a micromanager at all, but there's something about your boss just not being at work that just gives you that feeling of freedom. And actually, and work was good this week. Actually, work was good. Got to my caseload. Work was good. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna get the time that I need right now, and that's what I'm giving myself today, last night, tonight, tomorrow. I feel good about where I'm at. Cool. I get to kind of just slow down. I get to just slow down. I get to just do Alex, and I'm really excited about that. And so we had another conversation around this the other night, because the day, all that kind of went down, and we left in a good spot that night. I'm grateful that we're able to talk through it again, being able to see how I'm handling myself in these situations. In the past, this is how it would have gone, right? If I would have said on that phone call, hey, is everything okay? And she says, no. That was a little dramatic. She said, no, not everything's okay. I would have shut down. And then if she would have told me all of those things on how she felt that I was being distant from her, I would have continued to shut down, or I would have lashed out and been like, okay, well, you're telling me what I'm doing wrong. Here, how about I tell you what you're doing wrong too? And for the record, because she's going to listen to this, you're not doing anything wrong. But in those moments, I want to lash out. I want to hurt, little boy hurt, or I want to shut down, or I don't want to talk. I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to shut you out. I don't want to talk. So, we got on the phone, and I noticed this the other night, and this plays into asking for what I need. We were on the phone, and about the 20-minute mark, I hit a wall. I hit a wall in that moment where I just stopped being present. I just hit a wall. And then the phone call continued on for another 10 minutes or so, but I really saw that, and I just really. So, and we've talked about this since. We talked about this the other night. I told her this, because basically, what we're dealing with right now comes down to communication, right? Communication is key. In any relationship that you're ever going to have, communication is key, right? It's up there. This needs to be a top priority for us, is communication. I am afraid to communicate my needs because I am afraid that she is going to take them the wrong way, or whoever is going to take them the wrong way. On that phone call, when we hit that 20-minute mark, I really wanted to be like, babe, I just hit a wall. I am feeling that I'm not being present for you right now. I need to get off the phone. I was so afraid of saying that to her because I was so afraid that she was going to take it the wrong way and I was going to hurt her feelings. Or that I wasn't allowed to ask for that. That's part of it too, is I feel like I'm not allowed to ask for these things that I need. I feel like I'm not allowed to. Or that if I do, she's going to take it personally. But it has nothing to do with her. And we had a conversation about this the other night, and we brought this up. And because we went back and we talked through the whole scenario. And, she saw where she got triggered from her past with the anxiety. And, thinking that basically because I was being distant, she thought, oh, her nervous system, her subconscious said, here we go again. I did something. Now he's going to pull away and realize he doesn't want to be with me, which was not the case at all. So that, inflamed her to have this reaction to that anxiety. And so we're both learning on okay, how can we go about this in a different way? How can we communicate what our needs are? Because she's good at doing that. She's good at doing that. And it's something that I need to work on because again, I feel like I'm not allowed to ask for my needs. and I feel like I'm afraid that I'm going to hurt her and that she's going to take it personally, when actually she shared that that's actually the contrary, is that like she will feel better in these situations if I do voice my needs, because then she won't take them personally. And that Alex hit a wall on the phone and he just needs to get off the phone right now. Okay, well, there's nothing that I did to do that. Like, okay. So communication in a relationship is just key. Like anything and everything. Like, I need to be talking. And so I see what the challenge is for me, right? Like I see what the challenge is, and again, God's putting these things in front of me, my higher power putting these things in front of me and helping me do what I need to do, and helping me to look at what I need to look at. This is what I need to look at right now. 100% fully, this is what I need to be looking at. So, okay. So I'm going to look at it and I'm going to work on it. And like, that's my journey right now. Whatever it is that your higher power or the universe or, whatever your higher power is putting in front of you, it's not a punishment, right? Because in the past, I would see this and be like, oh, well, this relationship's not going smoothly, so I'm out, right? Whereas today, it's like, okay, it's not the relationship. The relationship is actually showing me things that I need to work on. However, I have a choice in all of this, right? I have a choice to see it like that. That's kind of one of the things that I've really been working on with some clients right now is like, hey, I get that you feel like you blew your life up and there's feelings there, uncomfortable feelings there that you need to deal with. However, like we have an opportunity to look at this. We have the choice to look at this as something that is going to make us better. Is this going to make me better if I work through it? Yes. Is this going to make my relationship stronger if I choose to work through these? Yes. Those are all choices there, though, right? Choices. The power of choice, right? I can be empowered by choice. I am powerless over my addiction. However, I am not powerless over my choices. I have the power of choice. I am empowered. Instead of giving my power away to these certain situations and experiences, I can be empowered by saying, okay, these things are happening for a reason, and I can learn from them, I can grow from them, and I can heal things through them as well. That's me taking back my power and not letting these situations take my power, because that also is an experience of mine, is giving away my power and letting my power be taken by other situations. So, yeah. I think that's about all I got right now. Kind of just ran out of steam a little bit. So that's it. But guys, thank you so much for joining me on my journey. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. If you want to connect, my email address is nolionshere@gmail.com. Again, that's nolionshere@gmail.com. If there are any topics that you'd like to hear me discuss, or if you just want to connect, please feel free to reach out to me. That will be in the description as well. As always, guys, keep coming back. It works if you work it, and you're worth it. We'll see you guys next time.